बभूव कलशं दधदर्ण वाद्यः पीयूषपूर्ण ममरात्वकृते सुराणां रोगजालजीर्ण जनताजनितः प्रशंसो धन्वन्तरिच भगवान् भविकाय भूयात्। श्री धन्वन्तराय नमः। ओम शांति, ओम शांति, ओम शांति। Hari Om, Namaskar, welcome. We would like to welcome you all on Independent Research Ethics Society's AYUSH Samriddhi International Webinar Series. Due to your cooperation, mentorship, resource, and blessings, we have been able to achieve 439th milestone by today's webinar, inspired by Dr. Katiyar on the new regulations. Really, it was a news for us because we were not considered it important, and it was issued on 8th July, and now August is there, and we have to submit the response before 23rd August. So it is the excellent time to discuss about new draft bill of drugs, medical devices, and cosmetics 2022. Our suggestions, our objections, our obstacles, our growth, everything is depend on this new bill. And I hope next 2 decades will be governed by this bill until and unless any change is not there. So I would like to welcome Shri Ranjit Puranik ji, Managing Director, Dhootapapeshwar. I am overwhelmed with the presence of Dr. Ramanathan, Managing Director, Sitaram Ayurveda, and Secretary of Karnataka Drug Manufacturers Association. I would like to welcome Anil Johri ji. I would like to welcome Madan Thangvelu sir from Cambridge, UK, where the PK Prajapati from All India Institute, Sri Dr. JLN Sastry ji from Kakinada, Andhra Pradesh, very renowned name, Professor Vishnu Prasad Sharma ji, President Vishwa Ayurvedic Parishad, and ex-principal Guwahati Ayurvedic College, Khatavkar Sahib, SS Sharma ji, Secretary, Ayurvedic Drug Manufacturer Association of India, West Bengal. So really, please excuse me if I have not been able to take any name, because every name is our guardian. We are overwhelmed and we are really considering ourselves as a learner. I am a great learner from last 439 webinars with approximately 14,000 guru, no doubt. So really welcome again. And now for welcome address, I would like to request Professor Vishnu Prasad Sharma ji. Hari Om sir, welcome.
Hari Om, Namaskar. Respected Professor Madan Thangvelu ji, respected Professor VK ji, Namaskar. Respected Dr. Pawan Kumar Sharma ji, distinguished guests, eminent speaker, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome all of you to this evening webinar on draft of drugs, medical devices, and cosmetic 2022. In this evening webinar, we have eminent speaker, Shri Ranjit Puranik, Managing Director and CEO, Shree Dhootapapeshwar Ltd, and Member Advisory Committee, Ministry of AYUSH, Mumbai. I welcome Shri Ranjit Puranik. Next, we have eminent speaker, Dr. D. Ramanathan, CEO, Sitaram Ayurveda Hospital from Thrissur. I welcome sir. Dr. Chandra Katiyar, Chief Executive Officer, Healthcare Emami Limited, Kolkata. I welcome you, sir. Next, Dr. J.L.N. Sastry from Kakinanda. I welcome you, sir. Dr. Niranjana Murthy, President, Karnataka AYUSH Drugs Manufacturing Association, Bangalore. Dr. Surendra Chaudhary, President, Vishwa Ayurveda Parishad, NOIDA. I welcome all of you. Bodh Nobin Gupta, Ayurveda Acharya from London. Welcome, sir. Dr. Himanshu Shekhar Tiwari, Medical Advisor, Multani Pharmaceuticals from New Delhi. I welcome, sir. Next, Dr. Ashok Kumar Dubey, President, Vishwa Ayurveda Parishad, Bihar, Patna. Next, welcome, sir. Next, Dr. Rajendra Khatavkar from Mumbai. I welcome all the eminent speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to this evening webinar to draft of drugs, medical device, and cosmetic suggestion for modification. Once again, I welcome all of you to this evening webinar. Thank you, over to Pavanji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Before starting the webinar, I would like to invite Dr. C.K. Katiyar because he inspired us for this webinar and he has some questions in his mind. So I would like to welcome Dr. Katiyar and on those moderated welcome our chief guest, two chief guests, Sri Ranjit Puranik ji and Sri Ramanathan ji will guide us that what we want actually. Katiyar, as moderator, speaker, next sir. You are the moderator.
No, you want me as a moderator or a speaker now?
No, speaker means points, only points.
Okay.
Because
okay,
your
sure,
sequence
sure.
is actually on third. So we have to inaugurate this webinar by Ranjit ji and Ramanathan ji.
Acha. So I would like to introduce, may I introduce the subject first?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So Dr. Pawan, thank you very much. I am very thankful to the society for giving me opportunity. And thank you very much for accepting my request to have a webinar dedicated to this very, very important bill. And I think it's once in a lifetime that these kind of bills are coming by the government. I don't know whether we are progressive, regressive, whatever they are, but let us, I thought that we should discuss it because of the importance. So for the first time, what happened is on 8th of July, Government of India have issued a draft notification for new drugs, medical devices and cosmetics bill 2022. And this and the objective says to amend and consolidate the laws relating to the import, manufacture, distribution and sale of drugs, medical devices and cosmetics. So all the products are one place. Single bill, earlier it was called Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Medical devices were not there. And then there were separate chapters for AYUSH and separate chapters for medicines, what the so-called medicine. So now this new bill has 5 chapters. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Chapter 1 deals with the drugs and definition, etc. And chapter 2 deals with the medical devices. Chapter 3 deals with the imports, like that. 4 and 5 is dedicated to the AYUSH. So I will just read out today's discussion. I want to focus on the actually the definition of drugs. So at 2 places, the definition of drugs have been mentioned in this act. This is the definition of pharmaceutical drug, chapter 1. So as I told, it is dedicated to the medicines. So it is a normal definition which was earlier also. There is nothing new other than the second one. Substances other than food intended to affect structure and any function of the human body are intended to be used to the destruction of vermin, insects, or microbes. This has been added to the definition of drug in this new bill. And otherwise, it is the same. If we to look at the first one, the medicine for internal or external use of human beings or animals, and all substances intended to be used for in the diagnosis, treatment, mitigation, prevention, everything is covered. So this second part has been added to the drug in pharmaceutical drugs. Then they have introduced investigational new drug. It was not defined earlier. Now they are saying it means new chemical or biological entity or substance which is under investigation in a clinical trial regarding safety, tolerance, and efficacy. Again, it is related to the drug. Under the new drug, they have given 5 definitions now, which are earlier also it was more or like the same as earlier one. So I will not go into detail because our focus should be the AYUSH drugs. Chapter 3 is Import of Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Why I am highlighting it? Because it says that other than section 14 and 15, all other sections of imports are applicable to AYUSH drug also. For the first time, any bill dedicates so much space to the import of AYUSH drugs. The intention, I am not very sure what is the intention, but for the first time, if you remember earlier, it was only Rule 161(2), which said that for exports, you need to follow the guideline of the importing country, and we fully stopped. But import was silent. Now, for the first time, whole chapter dedicated to the import of AYUSH medicines also. Now, coming to the chapter 5, because time is less, so I'd like to use the time in the best way. This is the 3 boards. Now, this is chapter 5 dedicated only to AYUSH. Earlier, if you remember, there was only one board. It was DTAB. Now there are 3 boards. One is Drugs Technical Advisory Board, which is current. One second board has been added as a Research and Innovative Advisory Research Board. Scientific Research Board has been added, the new one. And I will tell you the purpose if it comes later. And third is NMPB. National Medicinal Plant Board was not finding any mention in the Drugs and Cosmetics Act earlier. Now, it is official entity under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. So now, instead of one, there are 3 boards. One is DTAB, earlier one. Second is Research Advisory Board, the Scientific Research Board. And third is the NMPB. These are 2 are addition. And now look at the definition. There are 4 definitions this time. Earlier, there were only 2 definitions of ASU drug. Now there are 4 definitions. This is the normal definition marked for 3A. Now it will be called, instead of 3A, now it will be called 86A. And this is Ayurveda, Siddha, Sovarikpa, Unani drugs include all medicines intended for internal or external use for or in the diagnosis, treatment, mitigation, and prevention of disease or disorders in human beings or animals and manufactured exclusively in accordance with the formula described in the authoritative books of ASU. And then now earlier it was first schedule, now it will be 5th schedule. So that was more change introduced. So this is the first definition of the drug. Now, 86A. Yeah. Now go down. Then it says now another definition of a drug is a substance, a drug. Now a drug is less. So you remember there was a definition of drug in the chapter 1 for allopathic drug. Now one more definition reproduced here. A drug is a substance or combination of substances other than food recognized by an official pharmacopoeia or a formulary of India or authoritative book specified in the 5th schedule of the Act intended to affect structure or any function of the body of human being. Therefore, now you can mix and blend Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, any of those drugs, provided it is mentioned in the official pharmacopoeia. It was not allowed earlier. It is the new edition as a definition of drug. Second, say substances intended to be used for destruction of vermin, insects, or microbes. This was not available. This was not part of AYUSH earlier. Insecticides. Insecticides is another addition in the AYUSH drug for the first time. And the proprietary medicine, which was earlier, means in relation to ASU. All proprietary medicine means in relation to Ayurveda, Siddha, Sovarika, Unani, or homeopathy system of medicine. All formulations containing only such ingredients mentioned in the formula described in the authoritative books of 5th schedule. Now, one more definition is there: over the counter. What they say is over the counter ASU drug means the drug which can be sold by way of retail to a consumer without prescription. So OTC was not defined earlier. Now it is mentioned for the first time. Then traditional medicine also now included. Traditional medicine includes the indigenous system of medicine legally recognized in the countries of their origin other than allopathy or Western medicine. What is important is the section 9. Where is that? Just a minute. Is it missed? There is a very, very new definition that is the cause of worry for all of us. And that is that, wait a minute. I'll just show it from original draft. I think there is some.
यार जी अगर चाहे तो यहाँ से दिखा दे।
नहीं असर में दिखाता हूँ मेरे पास उसका जो डेफिनेशन है ना।
ये कौन से पॉइंट है जी?
सर ये 86 हमको दिखाना है। 86 दिखाना है। 86N
86N यहीं से दिखाऊं?
You can share the screen.
हाँ सर मैं दिखा don't I am just showing that.
Then we will have
सर वही हाँ सर मैं दिखा रहा हूँ 86N दिखा रहा हूँ अभी, because that is the that needs maximum discussion now.
Section 86 is DTA भी है?
86N 86 में काफी डेफिनेशन है, 4 डेफिनेशन है। ये आपका आगे देखिए 86 में N पे आई है। वो my PA has missed to type that out. Sorry for yes. So innovative drug, it's a new thing. Innovative drug of Ayurveda or Unani or Siddha Sovarika means a drug manufactured by using natural substances not specified in the respective authoritative textbooks, not mentioned in those textbooks, excluding the single isolated molecules, and prepared by using such modern advances as notified by the central government from time to time, with certain therapeutic claims, including critical care management in human beings or animals, with a specified route of administration. Now here, they are not excluding the injections here. They are not excluding. Dosage and dosage form and is manufactured in accordance with the research guidelines provided by the research board, scientific research board. The third board which was recommended earlier, second board, scientific research board, will draft the guideline and approve these class of drug, innovative drugs of ASU, they are called, but none of these ingredients will be from the approved textbooks. So that is one major change what they have brought, and also they have look at this below that a drug of Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Siddha, Sovarika or Unani prepared using combination of substances mentioned in authoritative text and those out of authoritative texts. So now two things. One, it is mentioned in textbook and not mentioned textbook. For example, I can now add ashwagandha and ginseng and call it ASU drug. And N, which is not mentioned in any of the textbook, and it can be developed as a drug provided it is developed following modern scientific methods, scientific advances, but it will be monitored by a scientific research board. So these are the 4 or 5 definitions, and with this, I will not go into intentions. Intentions I am not aware about why these definitions have been given. But 2 things appear to me. One, there appears to be a lot of pressure on government to allow imports. If we say that we will only export our Ayurvedic medicines, then they will say we also want to export to your country. So that might be one of the intentions. Second intention is that by opening innovative drugs, so remember, none of them is Ayurvedic medicine. So in our representation from ADMA, we are saying that don't call it innovative ASU drug, you just call it herbal drug, because they are herb, but they are not mentioned in the textbook. It is a very progressive step. It will lead to a lot of competition, but then what will be implications in the industry to Ayurveda per se? Then we will be starting having echinacea from Europe. We will start having St. John's wort. We will start having all those American, European herbs in India in the name of Ayurvedic drug today. So there are plus points, there are minus points. I will not discuss any of those points. I stop here to invite the views of the experts on this chapter. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Katiyar. Thank you very much for really inspiring or igniting the flame, because this is the igniting the flame in Ayurvedic minds, and for which I would like to request Shri Ranjit Puranik ji from Dhootapapeshwar. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank
Welcome.
you, Veggie.
Welcome.
Thank you, and greetings to everybody this evening. I see amongst us we have a very illustrious personality, extremely modest gentleman, Vaidya Kaustubh Upadhyay here. With everyone's request, can I ask him to give some opening remarks before all of us jump into the conversation? Would that be?
Sure.
You are our leader, sir. This will be blessings.
Because as advisor, Ministry of AYUSH,
certainly,
he's going to be leading us for the next couple of, I would say, very important time. Sir, may I request you to address us, please?
Welcome. Welcome.
Dr. Kaustubh.
My participation is only to listen, not to give any input from my side. Actually, I was not involved in the presentation of the bill, so I am not aware of the intentions in including new additions and all. That we'll discuss once we get the input from the industry and all. Anyhow, I am the one who has to look into all your concerns, and I will look into all those things. That's why I am participating in this webinar.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all. I don't want to take your time. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's very rightly put, sir, that in the case you weren't really involved in the original drafting of the bill, then it's something that has come into your lap for you to, and hopefully, sir, you'll steward us to safety shores. See, by nature, my mindset is a little conservative, and the reason it is conservative is because none of us present here have really contributed to the evolution of this science. And that's where, we are inheritors who not always understand everything that we have inherited. And therefore, it makes me a little conservative. And this bill, that way, is very dynamic in the sense, I don't know, dynamic or daring in the sense of opening the gates. And I am not at all comfortable with opening so many gates at one time. I am not at all very comfortable when you're dealing with traditional medicine. When you're dealing with traditional medicine, you're dealing with traditional medicine. It is not something that should not change. Of course, it should change. But there is a lot of scope within the science itself to understand it better. And opening the gates, ushering the new, I am not very comfortable with this. I have serious issues when it comes down to 86N, especially N3. I have serious issues when it comes down to the vagueness in 86X. I have seen 86R to be exactly what we know as the old section 3H1. I know 86A to be the old 3A. Somewhere there is books, authoritative books mentioned in 5th schedule, and somewhere there is an enabling given to pharmacopoeia. Somewhere it is mentioned medicine, somewhere it is mentioned drugs. So I'm not very sure that both these definitions, how they differ. For the first time, we are also seeing in this drug some kind of culpability, if I can call it, for a marketing company. Hitherto, the concentration used to always be on manufacturers, but for the first time, we are seeing marketing companies also being involved. It's good in a way that a marketing company is also made responsible for the kind of third-party procurement that it does. But the latitude is not very well defined in that particular sense. So these are particular aspects that are there, and there is a whole new vista, as Dr. Katiyar talked about imports. It's a welcome step, because you go to any country, you go to Thailand, you go to Burma, you go to Cambodia, and each one of these countries have something to even export to India. So, as much as you are attracted to export to those countries, imagine the marketplace in India, which is awesome, and all of these countries take a look at India in that very sense, in growing their entire business. So the challenge is not really us being able to make mega sales in these countries, as much as it is for them to bring their tradition right here. And we have seen Ayurvedic practitioners as well as the Indian populace very, very dynamic and quick to embrace everything that is new. So competition is certainly going to heat up in the Indian market when it comes to something like this. The word isolates has certainly been kept out. That is a welcome step that has been taken into account. But at the same time, the fine drafting point by point when it comes down to whether it's an innovation drug or whichever way, there's a definition called natural substance. I wish the Ayurveda Ahar, where it talks exactly of a recipe, I wish the terminology was also common from Ayurveda Ahar and brought it right here, called not just food, but a food recipe. That would have been very, very clear, because whilst as industry, we are still grappling to understand what is an Ayurveda Ahar recipe versus the formulae. The issue is that kind of terminology right here, even if it was continued, it would have helped a lot. Something that I concur with Dr. Katiyar completely, that it's only once in a lifetime that you see such tectonic change that you're going to be addressing, especially with the central approving authority, the central licensing authority, and then all of us are used to the state licensing authority. That kind of clarity somehow, frankly, I'm dealing with other issues still in my mind. I haven't come to that comprehension as yet, but these are going to be somewhere some kind of onerous administration is what I see, even though you may talk in terms of online referencing and online submission. And somewhere, we need to make things a little simple and not complicated where they are. For example, if your factory is authorized or licensed to manufacture certain dosage forms, then classical medicines in those dosage forms should be by intimation, not really by license. So such kind of facilitations, which we have oft repeated, should have actually come into this entire act, but it has not come, but it's to be seen how it moves through. So these are some of my opening comments, and as some of our colleagues share some of their points, I'm sure we'll open up the floor for more observations and comments from everyone. Please, sir.
Dr. Pawan, may I for a minute?
Yes, sir.
I am seeing Dr. Sastry is there. And before Dr. Upadhyay, Dr. Sastry was the advisor looking after this position. I am not aware, maybe he might be aware of the developments when the definition, etc., this new bill was being drafted. I'm not
Definitely,
sure.
sir.
So can
Definitely.
we ask him his views also on this?
Sir, our today's programs, 2 inaugurators were there.
Yeah.
One, Ranjit Puranik ji. Second, Ramanathan ji.
Yes. Okay.
Both
So
are
Ramanathan ji
senior.
and
So
Ramanathan ji
we
and
would
yes,
like to
yes,
request
yes.
Dr. Ramanathan ji first.
Sure, sure,
Raj-
sure.
Sastry ji is our elder brother. Sastry ji will is our elder. So he is senior most. Sir. So I would like to request Dr. Ramanathan sir, Secretary ANMY and Managing
Moreover, I'll be
Director of
glad to escape also.
no, no.
Moreover,
No, Shastri, you are the right person.
Ramanathan ji, you cannot escape.
So I am audible, sir.
You are.
My screen
Clear,
seen,
sir.
sir.
Clear.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Welcome.
Kindly proceed.
I think the Pawan Sharma ji 3 days back and called me. Can you to prepare a draft of new drugs, medical device and cosmetic and suggestion for modification? That is a subject also. But fortunately, almost all the points are covered by Katiyar ji, and both they are almost covered the whole points. Actually, what is this bill? That is a draft new drugs of medical device and cosmetic. It is a really comprehensive bill regulating all aspects related to drugs and cosmetics and medical devices. It is true one. It's a beautiful one. And the accommodation, the change in requirements adopt a new technology also. That is mainly the main problem of the AYUSH industry is facing the new technology. And first time the regulation for the clinical trials and investigation of drugs and medical device added. And new definition and clarity AYUSH drugs and clinical trial over the counter drugs and cosmetics and medical device, bioavailability and bioactivity, etc. So this is the main highlight, this new bill 2022. And this is some suggestion, some minor complaints are there. I think our drug policy advisory is here. You see that is Ayurveda, Siddha, Saubharika, Unani, all drugs. So my humble suggestion, please avoid that or, because we are asking some amendment also suggestion why I go to the minute. That Unani or drug, it is not correct. That word is also omitted. And this is the old definition. You go to the old definition, all medicine for internal and external use. Now, very clearly, in relation, Ayurveda, Siddha, Saurika, Unani drugs includes a substance or combination of substance other than food. That is, Puranik already mentioned that AYUSH. That is, they need some understanding this definition. You see the substance or combination of substance other than food. And the government is planning to give the AYUSH also. So this is some controversy subjects are here. Recognized by an official pharmacopoeia formula of Indian authorities for 5th schedule of that. That is the old one is 1st schedule, that change is the 5th schedule. And they are very clear, cure, mitigation, treatment and prevention, disease or disorder with indication, usage and dosage are established. So the definition is beautifully drafted now compared to old definition. And also Katiyar ji also mentioned that animal age may be specified time placed under government by official gazette. And this is one older that the inspector judge maybe that is government, maybe the Sastry, that is the word is changed. Drug control officer, it's a good one, because inspector means everybody is afraid. So luckily that now is drug control officer. That is a good change in the new rule. And the state government, and the government means a relation, everything's clear, and homeopathy is clear. This is an innovative drug of Ayurveda, Unani, and Siddha, and Savarika. That is a, but it is not mentioned here. Homeopathy is excluded here. But it is only AYUSH. The drug manufacturer using natural substance and specified authority textbook Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, a single isolated molecule and prepared by using such modern advance as notified by the central government from time to time, with certain therapeutic claims including critical care management in human being or animal with specified route of administration. Specified route of administration, dosage and dosage form, and is manufactured according with the research and guidelines and relevant rules. Notified the central government consultation with the research board and constitution under section 89. The section 89 very clearly, that is I mentioned as a board chairperson, everything very clear. But you go to the chapter 1. There very clinical research organization means and person or organization, and what is a clinical trial, and what is a clinical protocol, everything mentioned in the chapter 1. But here what happened is omitted. So that is a need a clarity. And I think that is our advisor also here. And luckily Sastry is there. Sir, Ayurveda innovative principle, our interaction, totally different of the modern system. So if it possible, how to the clinical research to add, I think Katiyar is also here, how to possible to include our own Ayurvedic system. Our main problem is the last 40 years of research, in my experience, we are 100% follow the modern system. Where are now? How much crores of rupees we are spent for the government, for the CCRAs? Still we are not reached anywhere. So what is my opinion? This area, the clinical research organization, this innovative drugs is beautiful. As Katiyar already mentioned that is a one risk factor also is there. But my request, the risk factor, how we can establish our Ayurvedic system, fundamental system. We have very clear Rasavedium, Annasam Deshyam, etc., etc. That also how to the Divyaguna and Rasya Vibhaga included a beautiful protocol for the Ayurvedic research. Don't follow 100% of the modern world. It is our own system. How can to now club it properly, the innovative idea, the clinical research with the Ayurveda protocol. That is a need here. That is very important. That is innovation. My humble suggestion. That is a clinical organization, clinical trial protocol. I mentioned allopathy, but how they can be brought under AYUSH integrative drug has to be clarified. That area is not here very clear. That also before the rules implemented, that also clarity is required. My humble suggestion one then. And the central state and Ayurveda drug and the drug Ayurveda, Savarika and authority mentioned authority out of the book and market. But here you see that without the prescription, the online, to a consumer without proper registered medical party as may be prescribed by the central government. You know the paracetamol is online. So we don't know what type of the medicine here, that is rules, the medical as may be prescribed by the central government. Our regional wise, our state wise, everything are different. Different of the products are available. So that is a lack now here. That is very dangerous. That is as may be prescribed by the central government. Central bar state government is required. Every state, every region, that is a difference of the medicine, especially preparation one is Murivanna. That is not available in the north. That is exclusively for south. And north, number of the good drugs, some research preparation is available in the north. That is not available in the south. That is only online. So that is why state also is required, not by the central government. State government consultancy also required that area. Otherwise, it's one side. Or recommendation also added. That is my request one side. And pharmacopoeia and pharmacopoeia commission Indian medicines already started. And proprietary, old one is a patent and proprietary medicine. Now the patent is excluded. Now it's very clear the proprietary medicine. I think Katiyar is already mentioned. Maybe that innovative drugs are there. That is a maybe reason for the excluded. That is a proprietary. Now it is only patent. That is maybe reason for the excluded for the patent drugs. That is also very clear. Very everything clear means Unani not include medicine which administered parental route and also formulation include in the authority books. But I request Sastry and Katiyar, you sir innovative area you are permitted. What actually you are permitted innovative, that is a parental route. Switchway route of administration you are mentioned. But here you are restricted. I think the old system, that also, why not you thinking about the new parental, the proprietary medicine, as we are a proprietary medicine as per that mentioned the schedule, 5th schedule drugs only. But how to possible the new innovative has come to the proprietary medicine, not any innovative product. That is maybe we can cover our safe method. I think Katiyar mentioned that sometimes it is a misuse the foreign countries. This area we can cover, you can add it here, that is proprietary medicine. And counter origin, this is a good one. The traditional medicine includes the indigenous system of medicine legally recognized in the countries of their own origin. It is a very good one. And then there is a constitution, that is a drug technical advisor. But here, these are disclosed. He is a deputy drug controller, AYUSH Ashok Kr. No, that is a, we have on the drug controller. Then why here that is a section clause 87 is deputy drug controller. That is also we can change. And 5%, yes, my question then it is a need, each industry being set forth. Otherwise, the 5% without knowledge of the industry, is the board is not properly work. So that area very clearly that industry experience based 5% is required. And Ayurveda Siddha Pharmacopoeia, you see that it has been substituted all in part of each other drugs in substance except this permitted Ayurveda Siddha and Unani Pharmacopoeia. This is a serious drug. Nowadays, number of the drugs is not available. So Ayurveda Shastra, they are permitted for the Abhava Dravya, but you are mentioning only Pharmacopoeia. So my that Unani Pharmacopoeia, you change to 5th schedule. But whatever they mentioned, the 5th schedule book, that is also permitted Abhava Dravya. That substance also permitted here. That is, you change the Pharmacopoeia to the 5th schedule. And here that there is often exhibited sale under name which belongs to another except the classical formulation. There are traditional Ayurvedic medicine in Kerala such as Sajamam Rasayana, Agastya Rasayana, already mentioned, Muruvenna, etc., which are manufactured as proprietary medicine by various manufacturing companies, the same name, but it is a restricted now. So our traditional system sometimes is not mentioned. My factory started 100 years back. Some formulation is experienced formulated by my gurus and Vaidyas. That Vaidyas is not possible. That product is not possible. It's a classical one. The same product is available in the market, the Muruvenna, all the manufacturing in Kerala. But this rule is restricted. Only whatever the classical product, some area is also restricted. That also we can check it properly. And same but different formulas in classical reference. for the medicine prepared according to the Sastry Yoga. You are there in Rogadika. You go to the Sastry Yoga, the Rogadika are not mentioned. So suppose I have taken one Sastry Yoga area, it is not possible the Rogadika on the label. That also area, that also will correct the issue. And elephant tusks, medicinal plants are prohibited for the protection of the label. Okay. The exact reference excluded items should be given a schedule that should remove confusion, and this will be useful to export promotion and implementation of the future guidelines. So, Medicine Plant Board or government AYUSH give me a proper guideline. What is the purpose of a certain substance, musk, elephant tusk, certain medicine plants? How many items are prohibited? That is a very clarity is required. Then only that is, otherwise is a big legal problem is arises for the manufacturer. And this is a provided nothing this section shall apply to registered medical practitioners. It's a very complicated issue, sir. The manufacturer of sale of distribution Ayurveda, homeopathy, Saubhadika, Siddha, Uni, except under and according with this chapter advantage, provided that nothing in this section shall apply a registered medical practitioner who manufacture Ayurvedic, Saubhadika, Siddha, Unani, drug for the use of their own patients. So you see that the Ayurveda medicine manufacturing companies are as per the GMP norms under strict quality checking as the drugs and cosmetics said. But section 125 exemption is given manufacturing registered medical practitioner clinic without the quality checking or standardized manufacturing procedure in both medicine are confused by the public. Whatever the manufacturer, and I am also waiting. Suppose I am preparing as per my idea, my patient. Suppose there is no quality, so how can to check in the public? That area, why not you address? IT department definitely needs some. What is the main problem that are facing? You go to the heavy metal issues are checking in the present Kerala one doctor. 60% of the non-manufactured units products, there is no label, nothing prescription. That type of the misusing is that is very badly affected the Ayurvedic system. It is very badly affected all over the world. So that area we need a checklist. Suppose anybody knows anybody is getting the same medicine, heavy metals and everything there, practitioner or manufacturer. That area also very clarity is required. So no person shall insert for any other person. Online mode of accept such manner may be prescribed. So it's online. Sir, nowadays the paracetamol is online. And we don't know that is as may be prescribed. The state government, central government is required. All the state level advice only maybe the prescription is required. So that only one side of prescription maybe it is very badly affected the Ayurvedic and Siddha, Unani and homeopathy decision, and controlling authority, every drug control official, and the control should be a qualified person having at least a 5 years experience from the AYUSH industry. Now the drug inspector, there is no only their post-graduation qualification. The main criteria is their theory, not practical. So what happened, these people are coming to the inspection. There is a good, maybe maximum problems are created by the inspectors and the manufacturing. They doesn't know what is how to manufacture the proper Ayurveda. What is the main problem, how to solve the issues. So that level it is required, at least he has an experience of 5 years experience in the AYUSH industry. That area is the controlling authority, rules are required. And this is my last one. I think now is too much of discussion is required, but this is my last one. The penalty, sir. You see that 9,500 Ayurvedic medicine manufacturing units in India. You see the contribution of this chapter, 50,000 rupees. Only in 20,000, now it's a 50,000. The penalty of Ayurveda, homeopathy, Saubhadika, except the category specified 8th schedule, 1 lakh. You see the adulteration and this is the 8th schedule. The standards have identified purity, strength specified in Ayurveda, Siddha, Saubhadika, Unani, Pharmacopoeia for the time being as such as prescribed maybe. If there is a number of the standards, is it possible, sir, in the generic product, that is all the industries are facing the issue. So I am definitely need the qualities required. But here you see this type of the amount and the imprisonment, 1 lakh or 3 times the value and imprisonment. Is it possible a small unit, especially the 1 crore or 25 lakhs rupees of turnover unit is possible? So that also, so the punishment shall be too much and penalty should be reconsidered, and standard quality does not comply for APY, the standard 6, the schedule 6, that is also reworked, and pharmacopoeia and API must be reworked, and even small mistake of label, region language, ingredient line shall be deemed to be spurious. Suppose you see that here some Dasha Asava, but here Kerala is a Dasha Arishta. So that is maybe there is a chances for the regional changes ingredient label. That is a 50,000 rupees. One word is changed. It is going to the 50,000 rupees type of the penalty is declared. Is it possible? I think it is a dangerous. So this is what main reason. This is a complete thinking. What they are mentioned in the modern system is completely pasted and adopted in the Ayurvedic test. That we logic, this is our own Ayurvedic system. I welcome these rules, definitely. But definitely rules are required. But it is to protect the Ayurvedic system, not an allopathy area, not a complete effort possible to more than 100% allopathy system is not possible, the Ayurvedic system. And the 5th schedule also, or the 1st schedule, can invalid. So the books and others and published, they are mentioned 1964. So my student should be updated as for 2000, because number of the additions or changes are already mentioned. Good books are there. So after 194, he changed it to 2000. And the inclusion, we are already hand over this book, the 1st schedule, to our Special Pharmacopoeia Commission of the last week. Maybe these books are added. We can got more books. This is more than 28 books. This is my humble suggestion now. And after that, I'll give more what you want details. I'll give it to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Very mesmerizing and very scientific to the point, sir. Great guidance from your side, sir. Welcome, sir. Welcome. Thank you very much. Now I would like to request our elder brother guide, Dr. JLN Sastry ji. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you, Pavanji. I'm glad I'm part of today's discussion. There was a pertinent question raised by Katiyar, of course, is the only person to whom I revealed that I have conflict of interest on one occasion. Therefore, I kept myself away from these deliberations on any other platform. But when Pavanji, yourself, and again Dr. Katiyar wanted me to participate, I decided I'll share my views also, since it's a draft and is in the public domain. I think there's no more confidentiality. Yeah, it's true. When I was part of the team officially in 2 instances. One, when the first draft of the Drugs and Cosmetics, that's Medical Devices and Cosmetics Act per se was prepared by the Minister of Health, and then it was sent in its raw form. They wanted the comments. And then we have made some comments. Of course, 90% of them, they doesn't find any place in the present draft notification. Subsequently, again, Minister of AYUSH requested me. And then I participated in a 3-day brainstorming with the officials. And even many of the points we debated and discussed are not there. Again, hardly 5% of the points which we have discussed are there in the final draft. That means the new team which was in place a few months back, about 6 months back, might have redrafted all the points what we deliberated. Yeah, there are plus and minus, and we have to live with it because it's a really a dynamic process which is in front of us, and under the dynamic leadership of our secretary, this initiative has been taken up, and we have been provided a fair chance. And this is the time. Since this draft, we need not be overreacting. We can humbly submit our what you call suggestions. And since I have completed the test, I mentioned to Dr. Katiyar whatever points I have, I'll hand it over to him. And I did most of them. And again, I'll revisit after today's meeting, and I can hand over my points to him, then submitting myself to any forum. It is very progressive, as rightly mentioned by Dr. Katiyar. So I have my own point, which I raised earlier also officially. The definition of drug, which started in chapter 1, probably we should also incorporate the definition of your AYUSH or your SOA, AYUSH, homeopathy. All the drug definitions must be there, and as it's the preamble, and the definition chapter starts with chapter 1, irrespective whether you're Ayurveda or you're something else. So that's something which we may need to represent. If at all legally we think that it gives more strength. Otherwise, if you feel the chapter 5 itself is sufficient, then you can have everything presented under this chapter. That's fine. Coming to the definitions, we have recommended only 3. We never wanted to confuse to this extent. And Dr. Katiyar is very clear, and we were discussing some time back on this. See, under the definition of classical, previous speakers could not focus on this point, therefore I'm mentioning this. I have removed the word exclusively as per text under the classical definition. Always we did this mistake, and this is the golden time opportunity, and we should remove it, because you are not using the exclusive process. If you use the exclusive process, even your Puranik should cannot be formulated like what we are formulating, or your Gandhak Rasayan, which you have, you cannot have that formulation. You can have one batch in 1.5 years. That's the kind of complexity you have. So there are many products I can mention. So therefore, the word exclusively as per text should be modified. The phrase should be modified. The second thing, patent or proprietary, which was there, actually has no meaning, and patent word is to be avoided. Once the patent word is avoided, there is no point in again adding the innovative drugs, because actually there is a big difference between novelty and innovation. Every novel thing is not innovation. Novelty gives excitement. Innovation gives a big outcome. These two are different. Therefore, earlier context, when we have removed the word patent, so it should also be proprietary. So one category is classical, the other category is proprietary, and the third one should be new drug. Now, if needed, and these are a recommendation also at the time, if needed, you can bring it under proprietary. Proprietary with the ingredients of the books of the first schedule are the second one. Even there was a discussion with a few people where they used to talk about the definition given in the whole 3H. The ingredients should be the part of the formula mentioned in the formulations of the books of first schedule. By definition, formulation can be single herb, formulation can be multiple herbs. In legal terminology, I'm okay with that. But still, if the clarity is required, we can do that. There's no problem. If at all we want to simplify, either we have to give a shape to the new drug definition. Therefore, you need not bring the European herbs and all here. They're part and parcel of your fourth schedule under the FSSI. Let it be there. And you can write or make a rider here which the herbs which are of Indian origin, or we can write that we should not be an exotic herb or a exotic medicinal plant. That definition can be given and it will give clarity. Therefore, you will not allow everything to come in and fall under the innovations. So these few things can be done. That's one thing. I always felt more than imports, we need exports somewhere, and we should just mention that because we can expand it. If you don't give the provision right now, and you may have to wait for another 20 years for an amendment of the act, and it may not be 20 after 1940. This is what we are seeing. It took almost 80 years, 82 years. So therefore, somewhere we have to introduce a chapter on exports, and where you can give a single rider. This is my suggestion also earlier, where you can mention that the regulations may be as per the requirements of the country of import or something like that, a single phrase. So that gives you a scope. Tomorrow, if you need anything, you can definitely have. Now look at what is there in Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Why there was a chapter on imports? At that time, nobody believed that India could ever produce a modern molecule, 1940. So after your IDPL, people started thinking that, okay, India can also produce modern drugs. So therefore, the chapter were exclusively imports. There is no chapter on exports. And some people debate that we wanted to give free trade and a lot of freedom to the industry and all. That's fine. You are not putting any controls. Just you are mentioning that single line and a chapter that will enable us to create some rules if necessary in future. Otherwise, we'll miss this opportunity, a big opportunity. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. And imports, fine. I completely agree with what Mr. Ranjit Puranik was mentioning. Yeah, you'll get competition, but again, people like us, at least like me, I'll immediately shift my factory to Nepal and I start producing, or I shift my factory to Sri Lanka and I produce, and I'll come out of the Biodiversity Act immediately. I'm clever than wise. So, are we aware of this? This is something which I have to seriously look at. Okay, there is plus and minus also. I'll immediately shift my factory and I'll import. So it's very easy, and there is no control in these countries for these biodiversity laws and so many things. Again, in Philippines, rightly mentioned, Philippines, Thailand. Just Thailand is just next to your Mizoram. Anytime you can go and you can bring everything. So we need to be little cautious, and whatever the riders are required, probably we have to put in place. As many times mentioned by Ranjit ji, as a respectful disagreement. I have two respectful disagreements here. One is on the view of allowing or not allowing the innovation category. We should allow, because none of us manufacture. There are 9,323 AYUSH manufacturing units as on 31st March 2021. None of them produce any formulation on the basis of Vata, Pitta, Kapha, precisely giving indications. Second thing, when you look at Ayurveda, Vedic medicine is not in Ayurveda. Whatever Samhita based Ayurveda, and the Samhita approach is not there in the your Laghu Samhita, and then Yoga Granthas. And the Yoga Granthas, when you come to the 19th century, 18th, 19th century, there are competitions. One particular physician started Ananda Bhairavi, the competitor started Mrityunjayaras, and the next door started Tribhuvan Kirtiras with minor ingredients, tweaking minor ingredients. I can enumerate a lot of things. If you open this Bharati Vaishya Ratnakara, you come across 42 Patoladi Kvadhas. Okay, it is all confusion. So you can't say that the classical alone can serve the purpose. It doesn't. The dynamism is required. And if we don't contemporize, the entire endeavor of our acharyas and the Vaids is to contemporize Ayurveda. That's how it survived the generations, and it will survive through generations with some kind of contemporization, and that needs to be continued. And another thing where I want to differ is the exemption given to the registered practitioners. Let us not kill this. It should be there. Otherwise, more than 8,600 companies of AYUSH in this country doesn't have a simple laboratory where you can check any parameters. They don't even make a section to differentiate between one variety of Piper longum and Piper chaba. What for anything else? There's no testing tool at all. So what kind of standard we are talking about? Let us not cheat ourselves. Let us be truthful to ourselves. We are trying to cover up our failures and we want to take it to the next generation. Let us not do that. This is the golden era. Let us accept our limitations. Let us try to come out of it. Why I'm saying this a little harshly? Because the whites were in the remote places today are still getting the herbs and preparing the medicine. And I can tell you, if you want examples, I can quote examples. I'll take them to those places where they manufacture for their patients. They don't manufacture more than 1 kilo of Yogaraj Gugulu. And when you compare this Yogaraj Gugulu, they collect this material from the nearby forest, they bring it there. They are spending 2,000 to 3,000 rupees per kilo of Gugulu. Industry doesn't spend more than 1,100 rupees. And in under 1,100 rupees, what they get is Comifera cordata gum. Everybody knows, but we don't speak the truth. Okay. So let's not kill the tradition. This is a rich tradition through which this system survived. It's not because of the companies this system survived. It's because of the practice this system is surviving. Therefore, let us not kill that opportunity. On the other side, in the Biodiversity Act, we vehemently opposed the government and we requested for the exemption of the registered medical practitioners from the clutches of the Biodiversity Act. And here we are asking for something contradictory. So let us not do that. Let us have what we call wisdom prevailing on these things. Only one point we need to debate further. That is, when it comes to the clinical research board and all, why are we not respecting the apex research bodies who are already existing, like CCRAS, CCRUM, CCRH, CCRS? We have the research apex bodies. Why don't we make them as part and parcel of this process than really getting into a new system? This is something which we can debate. And I just stop myself here because there are many other speakers who are more professional, more efficient than my experience. I'll wait for the comments and rather I would like to listen to them. But whatever little we could do, we did, but 90 to 95% of drafting what we provided at the time has been superseded by the subsequent drafts. So I respect, they have their, like, no two brains can think on the same parallels. So I have nothing to say against. Only thing I have suggestions. If we can go back to the previous drafts and I can bring in few points, I think we simplify and we can live more happily. Then what it is, it has created a lot of confusions at many places. Katiyar, I've given my comments to you. You can place it before other members as and when it's required. But an official document, probably I'll not be providing any comments because I was part of the team. Yes, you're right. I was part of the team.
What
And,
is your conflict, Dr. Shastri?
I was member for two of the committees.
But that's okay. Now you're not.
Yeah.
So you can
But
speak
that's
your
okay.
mind yourself.
No, still. Once I'm there again, with my signature, these points will go and the committee will question me. I did the same thing for Biodiversity Act also. I congratulate Dr. Kaustubh, my colleague when I was in AYUSH, and he can take it further. That's why I've opened some of the points because he's new. And he can definitely take our points and bridge the gap for the entire industry. And thank you very much.
As a result, what happens is, sorry for this intrusion, but we're in the middle of something that's going to happen and something that seems a little unfinished. So, the confusion starts coming in something like that. So the word is hodgepodge in certain things you can see. It's not an evenly understood kind of progressive
Yeah.
pattern. Yes.
Yeah,
Please,
I
Pavanji,
completely
sorry about
agree.
this.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that's why we have to give our suggestion, our comments and suggestions, and of course, I'm in discussion with the Katiyar and with other people. I've given my written comments also, and let's have another round of discussion before we submit it. And it gives the clarity which is required. Of course, maybe subsequently some people thought these new definitions there are, and the problem is there are two kinds of definition even for Sawarikpa, Ayurveda, Siddha drug. So it creates confusion. About 6 different definitions are coming up at different instances. It should be clubbed. So it's very simple. Precisely, there are 3. One is classical, proprietary again with the ingredients as what we were talking about under 3H, and new ingredients over. Or separated as a new drug. Already one draft notification was there last July 21. There is a draft notification where they very well defined the new drug. That can be made as cut paste here. So it resolves the things. And again, pesticides. The inclusion of vermin and other things under this is going to be contradiction with the existing acts. That will be another problem, even if we get into it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Very nice discussion. Katiyar, sir, please. You are mute.
Sorry, only one intervention. I will not repeat what has been said. Only one point. Why I said it's a very progressive step is National Innovation Foundation is sitting on 1,000 leads of medicinal plant which are not mentioned under any of the textbooks of AYUSH. Society for Ethnopharmacology is having access to thousands of local traditional healers which are having leads which we are not able to be converted into the drug. Third one is recently Ministry of Department of Biotechnology has started a national Himalayan Bioresources Mission, where there is one of the vertical is to survey and meet the local healers inside the Himalayas and talk to them. How are they treating patients? What kind of leads available there? And I happen to be vice chairman of one of this committee. Now, my first concern was, even if we do that, even if you get the lead, how can they develop into the drug? There is no way. So for the first time, there is now one way that we can call them, we can introduce through this new definition. Now, that's why I said, don't call them ASU. You can call them herbal drug and give a new definition to that. That's what my say. With this, I stop.
Yeah. Absolutely, sir. Under new drug, we can include this and it will resolve the entire list.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Dr. Pawan.
Suggestions, and I think 45 days time frame coming to over.
Sir, your voice is not clear, sir.
Upadhyaya, you are not audible. You have to come nearer to the mic.
Yes, sir. Regarding giving inputs, there is not much time. The 45 days is going to expire in another 5 days. I think 5 days or 10 days. So please see to it that you give your suggestions at the earliest.
So Monday is 45 days.
So there is not much time.
No, 26, sir. August 26 is the last day.
Okay.
26 August last day.
Yeah.
No, sir, 8th of July.
8th of July, and then add 45 days. So
it's 22nd.
Yeah, sorry, 20.
It ends on 23rd of August.
23rd, sorry,
23rd of August, 45th day.
Before that, we have to.
23rd. Before that, we need means only one day left.
Yeah. On the letter, covering letter by Ministry of Health mentioned from the date of issue of the letter. So 23rd, I think.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now I would like to request Dr. Niranjana Murthy ji, President, Karnataka AYUSH Drug Manufacturer Association. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sir, my submission is regarding 86N, sir. See, per se, I as a practitioner and also a manufacturer, we are not against any innovation. The only thing, important point we need to keep in mind is, in the process of creating the innovation, in the process of bringing in new technology or new concepts into drug development, we should not lose the focus what is being inherited in the form of a definite pharmacotherapeutics and kinetic principles and the medication. Now, for example, if you look at the definition, what is given here in innovative drugs, I will give you a different perspective. We all know the allografts from the amniotic membrane, what is being created, is having a tremendous role in wound healing, especially in the burn wounds. There was a query to me from a very esteemed research organization in allopathy. What is the role of placenta and what are the definitions and what are the utilities, clinical utilities of as a therapeutic agent of placenta? I never knew about the background. I'd give whatever technical input I could give from our Shastras. And later I got to know that these allografts are used to treat in Victoria Hospital, Bangalore, in some of the conditions where the regular treatment was not sufficient to heal the wound, burn wounds, the way this particular allografts were giving. Now, if you look at the definition very clearly, at see, he never mentions about only the herbs, any living organism or organic substance. Second thing is the dosage form. Again, there is no mandated that it has to be an oral dosage form. Any dosage form, that liberty has also been extended there. And if you look at this definition, the allografts and also honey enriched or anointed with the honey, the same allografts extracted, or rather what we call the placental allografts, is having a tremendous therapeutic role in the management of burn wounds. Now, coming to this point, where under earlier the first schedule, now the fifth schedule, all care has been given to protect the principles of Shastra. One is the safety. Nowhere in the Shastra, if you look at the definition of a dravya, I'm a very hardcore conservative Ayurvedic person, but I'm not against any innovations or any new technologies, which I personally believe on many of our formulations we have adopted and adopting, and we'll go to bring out. But at the end of the day, all our innovation should not transgress from the principles of Ayurveda. Now this allograph, if I go with the 86N, allow this tomorrow with all the possibilities, there is a clear room is being created, and where it's not under the schedule drugs or the ingredients or the formulation, definitely this innovation can come into the array of Ayurveda medicine. This is where I differ. I'm not against using any allografts or any other means and modes or any other herbs which are not enlisted in our textbooks or nigantus or even Brihatrayas, making an entry into different dosage forms. Not only in this, the same ingredients, different dosage forms. For example, now the crocin patches are available at a very minimal dose between around 10 to 30 mg. Patches are available. Sublingually, it is being administered, and many successful trials are taking place with the herbal, especially with the basmas, etc. So innovation, we are not against it. But in the process, in a hurry to innovate, in a hurry to accommodate whatever the international obligations, etc., you please don't mix up. This should not be allowed. Under 86N, should not be allowed to get into the so-called innovative drugs involving something which is nowhere related to Shastra. Whatever the definitions and additional books, etc., we want to make. This is a very strong thing which may lead to not only confusion. There was a time beta carotene wanted to enter into as Garjara Sattva into Saptamrata Loha and made into an Ayurveda medicine. Some companies in some states could able to, as Kinchita Sattva, the glucosamine sulfate, enter into the formulations. Unfortunately, in this definition, we look at the isolates are deliberately or either intentionally being removed. There are so many such. Tomorrow, there is all the possibility crocus sativas can be justified as a source of protein and what is a paracetamol and can get into any of our antipyretic formulations. I call it as an innovative drug. That's why somewhere we need to be a little cautious in our hurry to capture the market and meet the demands and expectation of the public as well as the government and also the economics. Before that, let us not hurt or damage the sanctity created with respect to Haushadha as our Shastras have clearly explained. Today, people are looking at the science not because of its, ancientness. It is purely because the inherent safety built in the mechanism of Ayurveda, right from the way we assess a drug to get into the formulation, to the way we administer the formulation, and way the body responds to these polyherbal formulations. This is a very humble submission from my side. Please make sure at the end of the day, whatever the innovation, economics, etc. involved, let us not damage the future of the science by putting everything into the same basket. We are not against any type of thing, any type of innovation or additions into this. I'm not against Jingo Bilobas or ginsengs or whatever, but make sure a separate category is made and allowed to get into that. Need not make an entry only through AYUSH. I strongly believe, or rather I am forced to believe or forced to think that there is a lobby, and this lobby may succeed also. The power of the money speaks when it comes to many of the policies. We all know about it. But at the end of the day, please don't victimize the science which is prevailing today purely by its virtues, not because of me or anybody. This is my humble request.
Excellent, sir. Excellent, sir. Very nice and brief sessions. Thank you, Niranjanji. Thank you very much. Now I would like to request in the meantime, before calling Dr. Surendra Chaudhary ji from UP, I would like to request Anil Johri ji. He is also from Quality QCI. Welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I had two observations. Number one, I'm just wondering why there is a chapter on imports, because any domestic law automatically applies to imports. Most laws do not have a separate chapter on imports. If they have, they are there to provide alternative routes to the imports, which I am wondering whether we want to do in AYUSH as well. Otherwise, whatever is domestic law by WTO's national treatment principle applies to domestic imports automatically. Same route, same requirements, same everything. Unless you want to change and have a chapter. That's one question. A second is, since Ranjit spoke about competition, I assume that he talked about, like I think Dr. Sastry also mentioned, putting up a plant in Nepal or in Sri Lanka or in Thailand and bringing up drugs here. That's one part. But tell me, where do we cover? Suppose Chinese medicines come in or traditional medicines from other countries come into India. Are they regulated in any way? If they are not, then this draft should cover that in some way, because if they are unregulated, then they have a free entry. If they are not specifically mentioned in any of the drafts, any of the laws of India. So I was listening to Ranjit, I was just reminded that what happens if Chinese medicines are imported into India? Is there a law which applies to them or does not apply to them? Third, on exports, I'm just wondering why Dr. Sastry wants a chapter on exports. Normally, the domestic laws apply to domestic market, and we don't say that unless he has in mind that the future date we would like to regulate exports also, which we do through, actually, Ranjit is aware, we do regulate exports in food through EIC, a separate agency rather than through FSSAI. So I'm just wondering why a chapter on export is needed, unless the idea is that we leave a window open for regulating exports at a future date. Thank you. These are some of the comments I had.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ranjit ji would like to share something.
Yeah, I think what Dr. Shastri was talking about, Anil Johri ji, was about Rule 161(2) as it exists just now, which allows me to classify my drug for exports in whichever way the importer or importing country would like it to be. So that is one vista I think that he wanted to keep open.
Okay.
Import of traditional medicines from your second question, comment was about import of traditional medicines from the world over. Uh, uh, when you see a very profile of a very typical Ayurveda physician, in himself there is a inherent kind of creativity and a very eagerness to apply the principle of that he has been ingrained throughout his scholastic period to various kind of dravyas, and you would find the Ayurveda physician to be very welcoming of Chinese medicine. So there's going to be fierce competition, which I think will do us good in the short run, because it will really wake the entire sector up.
But is Chinese medicine regulated when it comes into India? Is there a regulation for it?
Currently, I don't think there is an import provision. Whatever my reading is, even if Ayurvedic medicine was to be manufactured in Sri Lanka, I'm not sure about Nepal, because Nepal has an open border, but the issues with Sri Lanka and imported into India, I don't think there is really a provision in that particular sense. And for this quid pro quo and foreign trade agreements, there is going to be an exchange of traditional medicine between India and other countries. So
Correct.
I guess we need to keep the window open.
So again, my point, number one, any medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, claiming to be Ayurvedic.
Sir, if you kindly permit me, question and session answer will be after completion of the speaker expert, sir. If you kindly
sure.
Please, my humble request, because
please
the flow of the speeches is being interrupted. It is humble request. Sorry, sir. So now I would like to request Dr. Surendra Chaudhary, President Vishwa Ayurveda Parishad Assam. He was Regulatory Authority, Divisional Officer AYUSH. Welcome, sir. He is in Canada at present, I hope. Dr. Surendra Chaudhary, welcome.
Thank you, sir, and namaste to all. Now I'm back on the 15th of this month, just 2 days back. But my background is still the same as I put it during my Canada visit. It's really, I'm really fortunate to be the part of discussion about this new bill. And I'm the least knowledgeable person among all these galaxy of experts, including the manufacturers and the authorities who were involved during the drafting of this bill. My submission is that, or my question or the query or surprise is that when we have an opportunity to rule out all those lapses which were present in the existing Drug and Cosmetics Law Act, like we have a number of books mentioned in Schedule 1st, now the Schedule 5th. Why we are still having those books which are not available anywhere? Number one. Number two, there are so many books by which practitioners are being manufacturing their medicines effectively, and they are using in different, treating different diseases, but they are not mentioned anywhere in first schedule. Second one is about the exemption given in the existing law to the physicians or the registered medical practitioners to prepare their medicines. Dr. Sastry ji emphasized upon them in detail. So as a physician, it's my humble request to draft a note or to submit this motion that the clause must be intact. Otherwise, there is a very, very disappointing nature of draft, it may be. As Ranjit ji said that it is an opportunity for the competition. Yes, it's good for the competition, but my reservation are about import policies. If there is no definite regulations about importing the medicine that may harm our smaller manufacturers. That may, I'm saying that may. For example, when I was in Canada, I just disclosed this example 2-3 days back when Dr. Prajapati ji was the speaker of one of the webinar. I found there ashwagandha, tulsi, giloy with the same name. And they were prevailing in that market. And when I inquire about the source of ingredients, surprisingly, they say that we are growing these herbs in a very controlled environment there with all specific requirements of active ingredients detection. So my comprehension, my apprehension is about that, how we can make regulations about importing the medicines, just for the sake of our medium or smaller level manufacturers. After all, one more thing, lastly, is that are we in a position to draft some points which are really important and submit immediately, as someone told that we are near to the last date of submitting the disposals of I things. So these words from my side, and thank you again for inviting me. Thank you very much, Pawanji.
Thank you, Chaudhary ji. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Your consideration is quite important, and for SSI, it is very important. Thank you, sir. Before calling Naveen Gupta ji from UK, I would like to request SB Dangayat ji. He is from Arogya Bharati, and he had communicated his objection or suggestions in the morning itself. Dangayat ji, am I audible to you, sir? SB Dangayat ji. Okay, we will listen him later on. Now I would like to request Dr. Naveen Gupta ji from UK. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Namaste to everybody. When I saw the draft a few days back, and then I saw that 131 times Ayurveda has been mentioned in this draft. Whether you call it on the left side of the block or the right side of the block, 131 times Ayurveda has been mentioned. But as I was listening carefully to Dr. J.L.N. Sastry, he was mentioning that 5% of what he was in the committee to form this draft is 5% is mentioned. And I absolutely believe him, because I feel that in this draft, in 131 times Ayurveda is mentioned, and perhaps 5% is only the substance. Rest 95% is just rubbish. So there are so many loopholes, so many gaps. The first thing is that which comes to my mind, when 1940, this bill was pre-independence. Now we are post-independence. And now we are in a completely different era. We cannot even call it 70 saal ki sarkar again and again. So we are here now, we are talking about the substance now. The first thing comes to my mind is to say, what is the need of drug, cosmetics, and medical device to be included as an Ayurveda? Why can't we have a separate bill which explains everything about Ayurveda in a different context? Let me give some observation to my fact if I'm not able to express myself in a good way. When we talk about the definition of drug, let us talk about the definition itself. Definition of Ayurveda, definition of drug, whatever we start talking about. Why don't we talk about the definition of Dravya? Why we are missing the Padarth Vigyan? Why we are missing the Ayurveda Tattva Vimarsha? Why we are missing the Vat Pit Kaf concept, Tridosh Sab Dhatu, Srotas concept? Why we are talking about the disease which are mentioned as the allopathic disease or the English names of the disease? Why we are not talking about the Sroto Adhikara? Why we are not talking about on the basic principles of Ayurveda? Then it comes to drugs.
It is administrative rules, sir, not academic rules, sir.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I can be administrator also. Pawanji, who stops me to be administrator? One of our Veda is administrator now. Then why do you say that? Because one of the Vaidya, who was a practicing Vaidya, who suddenly has become the administrative official, then why you can segregate me? I could also become the administrative officer had I been in India. But there is another point here. Why there is first thing is this. Second thing is that we are missing. Why we are missing Ayurveda Rachana Sharir? We are missing the Kriya Sharir. We are missing the Darvegan Siddhanta. So all this can be incorporated if we have an Ayurveda bill as a separate bill. Secondly, when it comes to medical device, had anybody think of, I thought of, I'm not saying that I'm just exclusive one. No, everybody can think of that. But perhaps I've not listened to this for the last medical device. We have not listened to any one word on medical device. Is the Vasti Netra, isn't it a medical device for us? When we use for Anua. Why? Vasti Netra, isn't it a medical device? Can anybody challenge in the whole world to me that Vasti Netra is not a medical device? Are there some regulations? Are there something we made about the design or everything what in Shastra says about the Vasti Netra? Vasti Netra is a medical device. And forget about the cosmetics. Modern cosmetology cannot touch even the Ayurvedic cosmetology. So there are so many gaps. And secondly, you see, it could be me amongst these so many participants today, or perhaps few more. In the registered medical practitioner, they are mentioning especially that as they are mentioning about an act, which I noted down. Because I passed out, I was in the CCIM Act, Central Council of Indian Medicine Act 1983. I passed out and my number was 5656 at that time from Delhi University. But now this act has been replaced by NSIMA Act 2020. So, okay, I'm not there on this because I've left my Indian citizenship. I'm abroad. But the point here is that it's not about that. It's about registered medical practitioner defining about that. And they say that who is enrolled in the register. As a foreign national, who is an Ayurvedic graduate from India, I cannot be enrolled in the register because the register is meant for the Indian citizens. So there is a gap there because all the qualified Ayurveda physician under this NSMI Act, under the such and such University Act, if they passed out from that, they should be allowed to enroll in the register. Then I can also call myself as an Ayurveda practitioner in India. So this is point number 2 I raised. And secondly, traditional medicine, many people have discussed about traditional medicine to be imported or not. First of all, I don't want to sound to be pro or to oppose this point of view, because I don't know the Indian scenario at this moment. But the point here is that why not? Because when we are industrializing the whole situation, why don't we industrialize the Ayurveda also? Of course, when somebody is using not Piper longum, or somebody is using Piper Chaba, or Piper longum is also 3, 4, 5 varieties. So everything can be controlled. There can be a protocol for everything. And when it comes to Sastra Roga Dikara, why everybody has to mention about Sastra Roga Dikara, Sastra Yogam from Kerala? Because there was Sastra Yogam from Hyderabad also. So why can't we forget that? So why we are talking about only one state, we have to talk about the pan-India. So right from the north to east to west to south. So we have to cover the whole India. We cannot just focus our attention to divide the country between North India and South India. And this is a Keralite product. No, it should be a pan-India product. It can be imported very well. And also if some of the European herbs or some of the traditional herbs in Africa, for example, if they are so much powerful, why can't we have a combination of that? But that will not be sold under the Ayurvedic medicine category. That can be sold as a traditional medicine, which could include Ayurveda plus traditional herbs from other countries. Why not? So these are we have to head towards these points. And for further, I have about point number S, point number X. So I noted so many things. And last thing, I want to tell you that why I talked about the facts about this bill now. Look at this link which I've sent to you. In 2004, there was a traditional herbal medicine product directive in European Commission in 2004, and that was in Brussels. And because I'm a Belgian by nationality, so I was in Brussels at that time. So I had a lot of meetings at that time. So I've studied THMPD EC 2004 carefully, and then when we compare it with 2022, this bill, so this is completely 95% it is missing Ayurveda. With this statement, I rest my voice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Navinji. Thank you very much. Your sentiments are absolutely right, but definitely our Ayurveda has not been included by principles in the bill. That is also right. Thank you very much. Dangai ji is now on live. So before Himanshu Tiwari ji, I would like to request SB Dangai ji to guide us. Welcome, sir. Am I audible to you, Dangai ji? Hello? Yes, your mic is open, but we are unable to listen to you, sir.
Hello.
Hari
Can you hear me?
Welcome.
Hello.
Yes, clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, clear.
Well, I'm
loud and clear.
Unfortunately, I have not been there throughout the discussions, so it's very difficult for me to straight away comment. But only a couple of the points that I would like to make is that there is a lot of confusion in the terms that have been used: Central Licensing Authority, Central Licensing Approving Authority, and Central Licensing Approving Authority. Now, these three are probably meaning the same. So I'm sure the authorities, they must look into this and clarify. Second important point that I would like to make is that AYUSH should have a separate DCGI than the DCGI for allopathy or biomedical, which obviously signifies the kind of importance that we want to give to AYUSH for its evolution and development. In nutshell, there has to be an independence of AYUSH from MOHFW all through. That means in the entire regulatory process, research, development, new drugs, innovative drugs, in everything, there should be a separate vertical for AYUSH that will certainly accelerate, I would say, evolution, development, and growth of AYUSH. These are the two important points that I notice. And last point that I'd like to make is there is too much of criminalization in this particular bill or the act. Each and every, you may say, deviation is taken as a criminal offense in which there can be very heavy penalties, harassment, and the jail sentence. I think the deviations should be segregated into two parts. First part should be for civil torts, civil deviations. And secondly, could be criminal offenses, which should be kept to a bare minimum. And such criminal offenses, in my opinion, should be adjudicated suitably by an appellate authority. And that the drug control officer or the other people who are prosecuting, they should ask to make a detailed averment in the very complaint so that there is no harassment, there is no undue trouble to the people who are in the business, manufacture, sale, distribution, promotion of the drugs, cosmetics, and medical devices. Thank you very much for giving me time to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I was impressed that in the morning you commented on the bill. Really excellent, sir. You are dynamic and energetic, inspiring us every time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pawanji. Thank you so much for giving me a chance.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to request Dr. Himanshu Shekhar Tiwari from Multani Pharmaceuticals. Dr. Himanshu. Welcome, Dr. Himanshu.
Namaskaram to all.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
As per the discussions was going on, my seniors, my colleagues, they're all from the different companies and different departments. There are two major issues. Many points has been discussed, major issues. One, just before me, the speaker was talking about the penalties and all these things. When we go through the section 7, when I was reading yesterday, 2 days back, last week, and today also, we feel that we are proceeding with some law, criminal laws. All the penalties, all these things. One of my colleagues told me today, sir, ऐसा लगता है हम लोग criminal law पढ़ रहे हैं. इसमें ये चीजें दी हुई हैं, ऐसा दिया हुआ है. तो वो चीजें थी. Secondly, we have discussed all these things. Secondly, one thing that the books, ingredients and the formulation listed in the original edition of the authoritative books and those authoritative texts, only mool shlokas, all versions, written and published prior to 1964, shall only be considered valid for the purposes for this act, and the ingredients and the formulation listed in appendix or annexure to the above authoritative text in the first schedule shall be considered invalid. That is a major issue, because first point is before 1964, how many people have this print of book published before 1964? Secondly, when we are talking about the annexure and the appendix of many books, since last 15 days, 20 days, I prepared many appendix list in this first schedule books. So just I'm giving one example. In Bhav Prakash Srikantu, there are 111 single herbs in appendix, annexure. So, and from these drugs, many drugs are used in the Ayurvedic formulation and given license by the state authorities. One burning example is isabgol. बहुत ही common drug है, सभी use करते हैं, daily use में आता है. It is the appendix of the भाव प्रकाश निकंटू. अगर आप इसको बंद करना चाहते हैं, appendix को हटाना चाहते हैं, तो जो common drugs हैं, 111 ड्रग्स की मैं लिस्ट दे रहा हूँ, उसमें से 50 ड्रग्स तो ऐसे होंगे जो मैक्सिमम यूज हो रहे होंगे. वो उनका क्या होगा? जिनके पास लाइसेंस है, वो ड्रग प्रोप्राइटरी में यूज हो रहा है या क्लासिकल में एज अ सिंगल बिक रहा है या प्रोप्राइटरी में फॉर्मुलेशन में है. व्हाट विल बी हैपन फॉर दैट थिंग? वी हैव द लाइसेंस ऑफ दैट. हाउ विल वी गो टू मार्केट एंड व्हाट विल बी द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस फॉर दैट? Only these points are with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Very important point. Very important point. What is this discrimination of 1964?
God knows.
Because this is discriminative bill in previous experience. Government has issued a notification that before 30 years, whoever has mentioned Chavanprash name addition, that will be okay. And within 30 years, if anybody has changed name of Chavanprash, additional prefix or suffix. So we fought these cases on behalf of Emami, and we win in Kolkata and Shimla High Court that this discrimination should not be there. Why these 30 years? So what is the validity of this 1964? I am unable to understand.
One point,
Yeah.
they have written that only mool shlokas version written and published. When we go to our authoritative books and published by the Department of AYUSH, Government of India, AFI and API. In AFI 1, Chavanprash is given, and API, the Chavanprash details is given there. When we go to the translation, in AFI, the amla quantity is 500 in numbers. And same reference is given, for charak reference is given the API, same AFI 1 reference. And at that time, the quantity of amla is 5 kg. Same thing happened in the 5 kg. The quantity is
The
different.
present Schedule 1 book is before independence. Now that the clause is changed to 1964. Pahale, that is all the Schedule 1 books are mentioned in the before the independence. Now that changed to 1964. So before independence, after that, up to 1964, what books are published, that is also ready to add this schedule, 5th schedule.
But API and AFI are issued after 64, sir.
Yes. Yes.
API and AFI both are issued after 64.
No,
so how
API
can
and
we
AFI,
regard them?
all are mentioned, whatever they mentioned is the schedule book. Ashtanga, Charaga, Sushruta. There is no new one. That is the difference.
No, Dr. Pavanji, I have got answer to this question. Answer is that chapter 4A was introduced in Drugs and Cosmetics Act in 1964. Chapter 4A covering AYUSH drugs was included in 1964. That is why they are saying before 1964.
Okay. Can we appoint that, sir? Because API and AFI are issued. Yes, sir.
Should I come in?
Yes, please.
Anyhow, it is in a draft stage only. Whatever your comments, please give it and we'll reconsider it. Day before yesterday, we have decided in the Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia Committee meeting that this cutoff of year should not be continued. That was the decision by the Pharmacopoeia Committee. Just Ranjit and Katiyar were part of that meeting. And regarding the appendix and all other things, unless we fix Rasaguna Viripaka Karma as per Ayurveda, we cannot interpret any references, any collateral references given in the appendix. For that, there is a procedure, and Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia and formulary, they are the two means where we can use the introduction of new drugs, new entities in the Ayurvedic format. So that is the dynamic process. Whatever the new editions of Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia or formulary is coming, that will be addition to the Ayurvedic literature in the official forum. This is my view. Anyhow, it is still open. Tomorrow is the last day after tomorrow. Like that, you all please give your inputs. I think this can be reviewed to the logical extent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I
Pavanji,
would like to request you to put your phone number in kindly chat box, sir. So I will be in contact with you and I will communicate you our webinars also. Dr. Kaustav Upadhyay ji, welcome, sir. Kindly put
Pavanji, with due respect, Dr.
Yes,
P.K. Prajapati ji is also with us.
हाँ अरे प्रजापति जी तो स्वागतम प्रजापति जी
So
स्वागतम
we can have his inputs also.
Definitely.
Sir,
He is also PK. I am also PK.
Advisor is there, so he will reply and give the same suggestions. There is no problem.
Please, please. Prajapati ji,
Yes,
your
sir.
voice is not come. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dr.
Yes.
Kaustuv is there and he is clarifying all these points. Regarding the whole bill, we are discussing on the same way and we represented, representation is prepared from my department also on the same way. We are going to represent on Monday. So every point is considered in the by the learned.
Kindly send a copy of that so we can also include in our memorandum, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I would like to request now the last speaker of the day, Dr. Rajendra Khatavkar, medico-legal expert from Mumbai. Dr. Rajendra Khatavkar. Welcome. Dr. Rajendra.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Am I audible?
Yes. He is two in one. He is advocate also. He is doctor also. Welcome.
First of all, we are little bit late to touch the subject. Only 3 days are remaining. But no days. 3 days we have got 72 hours. I need not tell you the minutes and seconds. And to act also, it's a very, very more than sufficient time. All the speakers have highlighted very important aspects. I will not repeat. Dr. Puranik, Dr. Ramanathan gave the very beautiful and wide comprehensive presentation. Dr. Niranjan, Dr. Sastry ji was wonderful. Niranjana, Anil Johari sir, Surendra Chaudhary sir, Naveen Gupta was wonderful. He gave very unique highlights. And I won't repeat the things all the speakers have mentioned. But one thing is very important, that previously, as it was a Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940, under which the Drugs and Cosmetic Rule 1945 was there. These were very old and age-old laws. And Government of India has conceived to review these old acts. And there was a committee formed, and this committee has thought to amend and repeal old acts. And in that they have added the medical devices. Now, why this medical devices has come? There are, in the past few years, there are various medical devices had been imported from the foreign countries, like prosthetics, valves and joints and everything. And after few years, those everything turned to be some side effects or something default in that, and patient suffered to the extent of death. Perhaps this might have been the cause to amend this old act. Now the things again, everything has been discussed in very, very detail. I won't go in that. In our section, chapter 5 is related to Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Soarikpa, and homeopathic drugs. I won't repeat everything because it will be waste of time. As I will highlight the few things, that the innovative drugs in Ayurveda and Unani, that was section 86N. And I think every speaker has commented on that. One thing from practitioner's angle, I got some feedbacks from Ayurvedic practitioners that I pull. This is not my feedback. This was feedback from the Ayurvedic practitioners in Maharashtra, few of them. They were complaining that the exclusion of the single isolated molecule, it is very, very harmful to the Ayurvedic practice. I don't know to what extent it is true, and perhaps the Ramanathan ji and Dr. Puranik sir, they are right person, and yourself are the right, and this Thangavelu sir will be right person to comment on that perspective. But these people are very, very much reluctant. From common person's general doctor's point of view, they don't see anything wrong in that. But he was pointed in that. Then again, there was few sections are not related to, not applicable to Ayurvedic this thing. I will tell you. Section tells that nothing contained in section 5 and 11 shall apply to Ayurveda, Swarikpa, Siddha, and Unani and homeopathy drugs. Another angle I would to touch, that the penalty was to the extent of 10 years, which can extend to life imprisonment, simple or rigorous, and with fine up to 10 lakhs. This is very nice inclusion or rather amendment, because the age-old act, which was enacted in 1945, and rules were enacted in act was enacted in 1940 and rules were enacted in 1945. This is age-old, and the penalties and all those mentioned, they were not to the tune of current era. The same thing is about Indian Penal Code also, because Similarly, I will mention the previously the Act IMC 56, Indian Medicine Council 1956, which was giving the penalty, section 15(3)(b). Whoever contravenes, he will be penalized with the 1 year and some few thousand penalty, which is very insufficient in current era. Same about IMCC 70 Act, which IMCC Act, which has turned into the NCISM Act 2020. As Dr. Naveen Gupta was telling some things about that he was practicing in UK. As I wanted to mention that jurisdiction of NCISM Act is only up to India. Before abolition of section 370, it was except Jammu and Kashmir. Now, as 370 is withdrawn, it is throughout India, but not outside of the India. I think this is the proper answer to his question. Before concluding, because all the speakers have given the very wonderful thing, I don't have any extra to add. Here, I would wanted to share my experience. In 1991, I was working with Procter & Gamble as a medico-legal advisor, and I was working for some traditional medicine toothpaste. They were their vice president, Dr. Raj Gopalan, who was very old person. He wanted to develop one traditional medicine toothpaste in combination with Chinese medicine. So we got some references from China also. And at that same time, another case came up in Hyderabad High Court, because this company's one head manufacturing unit is at Secunderabad, and this company's product was Vicks Formula Khasi Ke Goli. Everybody might be knowing. At that time, it was Richardson Indusan, and afterwards it became Procter & Gamble. And this product was challenged by the excise commissioner in Secunderabad, challenging that you are preparing this product, Vicks Formula 44 and Vicks Khasi Ki Goli, where the camphor is the main ingredient, and you are not manufacturing by the procedure given in the old books, and you are manufacturing with modern ways. So you cannot claim the exemption. And at that time in 91, it was multi-crore case. I had prepared a full case, all those granthas which were mentioned in Schedule 1 at that time. Now today it is in Schedule 5. 56 granthas are there. We have carried and we proved and we won that case. At that time, camphor, you are manufacturing in a modern synthetic way. This was their contention. And we fought for 2 years and we won that case. That was multi-crore case in 1991. Now, if it would have in today's case, the cost you can guess. By this, I wanted to conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I would like to request again Dr. Katiyar, before Dr. Madan Thangvelu ji, Dr. C.K. Katiyar ji. Dr. C.K. Katiyar, am I audible to you?
You are.
Welcome.
You are. No, so thank you, Dr. Pavanji, for giving opportunity to discuss this important issue across the forum. And I think everybody, right from regulators to industry to academicians to practitioners, everybody has shared their views. And I think from this forum, you should certainly submit your opinion to the ministry. And but I will also suggest, just now submit it, but go on expanding it, because my sixth sense tells me that it will also be referred to Joint Parliamentary Committee. It may not be accepted as such. So while you are sending this right now, be ready, go on expanding it further, so that by October, we may have another opportunity for submitting a detailed comments on point-wise. because we could not discuss each and every point. So whatever best today, basically to the discussion, you can submit it and be ready for one more round of discussion, maybe after about a month or 6 weeks time for that, to expand upon that further. And thank you very much for giving opportunity, Dr. Pawanji. It was very nice of you. Immediately accept my suggestion and hold this meeting. Thank you very much.
Pawanji,
Now I would like to
Pawanji,
request
few more
our regular
sentences.
moderator. Yes, yes, please.
Few more sentences I wanted to add. Can I?
Only two.
Yes, yes. only two. Okay. I will restrict to 3 laws related to medicine. Indian Medicine Council Act 1956, which repealed and it became National Medical Commission in 2019. The Central Council of Indian Medicine Act 1970, which was repealed and which became NCISM Act in 2020. Similar Homeopathy Act of 1973, which became National Council of Homeopathy Act 2020. All the current government is repealing old act and amending, replacing with new act. The same way is there. I will tell about the NCISM Act. The bill was published in 8th April 2017. We gave continuous follow-up 5 years, and in 2020 that repealed and it replaced by NCISM Act 2020. So this act also will take minimum couple of years. It will go to first go to Rajya Sabha, then Lok Sabha, then Joint Parliamentary Committee, then again Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, then it will be passed, it will go to President, then he will give assent and then it will be enforced. Thank you.
Yeah. Pawanji, I have one point to mention, which I forgot. Just I will add this very, very important point.
Sure,
Please note this. This is a very important point which we missed. We have given a new definition to traditional medicine through this act. It will be in contradiction with the WHO status report on traditional medicine. WHO on its status report on traditional medicine 2005 recognized only 2 systems in the world as traditional medicine. One is Ayurveda and second is traditional Chinese system of medicine. The rest they have categorized as complementary alternative medicine. This is something which we have to mention. Otherwise, we have a unique position for Ayurveda and TCM. Of course, China went for the ISO numbering and all these things. That's a different story. We now, with the help of our Secretary Sahab, the process has been initiated. That will happen one day or other, and we will lose the opportunity. Therefore, this needs to be mentioned separately, that the definition should be as per WHO.
Very right, sir. You are very right, sir. We have a concept, sir. As you quoted WHO, I would like to remind you just one thing. Dr. Kurup, PNV Kurup, started a movement before 20-25 years for Asia Health Organization. Why we will not have an Asia Health Organization? With your kind permission, I would like to conduct one webinar on Asia Health Organization, that WHO or AHO, what we should regard. So this is the chapter, next chapter. So I would like to request now Dr. Madan Thangveluji, genome biologist from UK. Welcome, Dr. Madan sir.
Pawanji, namaskar. Thank you. Number one.
Welcome, sir.
Pawanji, thank you for, once again, thank you for bringing all of us together at such short notice, number one. Katiyar and all of us were together at a meeting conference recently here on this platform. And Katiyar, we want to thank you for suggesting that point, particularly point 86N. And you started and you showed us, you made us all sit down and study that document with some clarity. And it has brought as many as this platform has never seen before here in numbers, to presumably reflecting the importance of this document. You are right in saying it's a bill, drafting bills and getting it through Parliament is not an easy task. And as rightly said, it's taken almost 60 plus years to get to where we are today. Now, there are many points that have come through here. And the one or two issues that I just want to highlight very clearly here is the larger context in which all of this might be operating. And the larger context, as far as India is concerned, and as far as the Cabinet Office is concerned, there are very clever people there who are thinking about all these things much more than we are, or we are able to, because they see so many other factors. Number one, the development in Jamnagar, the WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine. India has taken responsibility for a very large mandate. And this demands that India be prepared for how we handle that opportunity. It is a very big opportunity. The entire world is looking at health and well-being very differently. There's a lot of pressure to keep the old model alive, which has failed miserably. Particularly the COVID and the vaccination related things. There are many interventions from the AYUSH systems, maybe as little as Pratimash Nasya or Neti, that would have been sufficient to provide a huge amount of resistance in the population, or simple formulations from Siddha medicine like Kabasur Kudineer or Nilavembu Kudineer, which has Andrographis paniculata as a very important ingredient there. So there are a lot of interventions that seems to sit in our land and gives us an advantage in the context of this WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine. Clearly, other countries will not put a lot of pressure on India, and that one area where there is a lot of pressure coming on India is asking, why do you have two ministries of health? We don't understand. And this is a very difficult question to answer. There are two ways to get out of this. One is to go out to the world and teach them what is AYUSH. Almost every country refuses to recognize that there is something called AYUSH, and that is partly our responsibility too, and a mistake on our part. We have never gone out to any country to tell them what is AYUSH. I'm going to put it very bluntly, as far as the nodal ministry is concerned in taking this message out to other parts of the world forcefully, their efforts have been very, very token. And we can do much more. So as Katiyar says, maybe the Cabinet Office will rethink all this and make an effort to be a little more proactive, to tell the world that India has a 5,000 plus year old system. We have something called the traditional TKDL, Traditional Knowledge Digital Library. If you look through that, you will see almost 300,000 formulations that are taken from our books. Many of these are traditional medicines that are used routinely for the last thousands of years and offer benefit to our people. And we don't want to lose that. We don't want to accept any kind of pressures from other parts of the world on India to negotiate. These are non-negotiables. So that is another point. So this conflict of two ministries, I think it is up to the two ministries to come to an agreement and then to convince the Cabinet Office, and from there to the Ministry of External Affairs to take a very clear message to the world saying this is India's heritage. This is a global heritage, and we want to exercise our strength. The last one, contemporization, that Sastry touched about. Contemporization, yes, please let us, but let us not dilute, distort, or disenfranchise our sciences. Very simple 3 Ds that I would present here, No dilution of our knowledge, because our knowledge is built on axiomatic foundations that come from the 9 darshanas, and we know what it is. You may not understand it, but we understand it. We don't want to be diluted, distorted, and in the process, our people be disenfranchised. That point that Shastriji raised about the traditional medicine practitioners, that is disenfranchisement. We cannot let that happen. And so that is the other point. Now, there are opportunities here. Yes, whenever we are drafting a bill, it is a bit clumsy initially because we bring many groups together to think about it. Not everybody is in the same level of understanding. So if Katiyarji is correct, there will be people who will listen to us as the bill progresses through. And it's wonderful that we have come together today and we have at least made a first jab at crystallizing our thoughts. We have studied the bill. We have looked at it very closely. For those who haven't studied the bill and those who are following us on YouTube somewhere, let me take them through what this bill is and where you can find it. You can find it at this location here online. At least 2 locations are available online where you can find it. The second, I particularly advise this PRS Legislative Research Group that is out there for a very special reason. They are based in Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Marg in New Delhi at Gandharva Mahavidyalaya. So you can see the 3rd floor. And if you look within this organization's webpage, you will see it's an example to illustrate the impact of better functioning legislature. So this is what is the whole spirit here, to bring people to think about it and to think about things, to come to a collective decision where collectively we can see much more, we can create more valuable documents for the future. An example given here about school education in India, 30 billion a year is spent on school education, but learning outcomes are poor, etc., etc. The same applies for health. And improvement, transparency of legislature and engagement of citizens with the process. I want to thank Katiyarji once again for bringing all of us together here. For those who find this 82 page document difficult, it is very easy to study. There are 7 chapters in the document, 185 sections. Chapter 1, 2, 3, not very important for us, but worth studying. Chapter 5, which is on pages 36 to 54. There are 13 pages, 3 subsections: boards and committees, manufacture, sale, distribution, and clinical trial of drugs, and the import of drugs and cosmetics. Yes, this is where we want to spend a little more time studying the definitions, like Katiyarji said about drug, what it includes. This needs to be understood clearly. There are sections here. You will find there is one section there on point 12. Sections 5 and 11 do not apply to Ayurvedic, Saurika, Siddha, Unani, homeopathic drugs. So we will have to study these documents with some clarity. So section 5 and 11 are not applicable to Ayurveda drugs. When we come to pages 36 to 54, which are clauses 85 to 124, you will see a need for a little more closer study. And finally, this point about innovative drugs of Ayurveda Siddha. These are things, as we say, things have to move on. Ayurveda has to improve. There is an opportunity based on the TKDL and the patent treaties that are there globally now. TKDL is now open for use within India. The traditional knowledge digital library was open for people for use in India, for people in India who want to look at the 300,000 odd formulations. It's open for India. It provides a certain protection in how other lands might try and patent certain things that are within our formulation. So there are clauses there that will go on. The comment about proprietary medicine, we need more debate, we need more discussion on these things. But most of all, I just want to highlight that point. The whole idea of these exercises, I encourage you to look at that website, the PRS legislature website. It is a way to democratize the bill formulation. And that is, it's a wonderful thing that's happening. And look at what has happened here. We are almost 50 people. This platform has never seen such large numbers come together. And it just shows the power of this whole process. So Pavanji, I want to leave it there for the moment. And we look forward to Katiyarji's leadership and your leadership to take us onward to the next stage of crystallizing our comments very clearly. There are very rich points that have come out today from all the contributions, and we will take that forward. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now session is open. If anybody would like to suggest or communicate his sentiments regarding the bill, please be in brief. If anyone,
पवन जी हमारे साथ दो
yes,
सीनियर लोग हैं जी, जहाँ साहब है बनारस से और शायद डॉक्टर लाड भी है हमारे साथ। जहाँ साहब से थोड़ा सुने इसके बारे में।
Yes,
डॉक्टर साहब नमस्कार, प्रणाम जी। हाँ,
Actually, I am belonging from the field of academy. Last 45 years I spent in the field of academics. This Ayurveda, which is nowadays, is become not Indian Ayurveda. Now it is going to be the global Ayurveda, we can say.
डॉक्टर साहब नमस्कार।
your voice is not coming,
डॉक्टर
sir.
साहब कट गया जी आपका आवाज। डॉक्टर साहब नमस्कार।
I would like to request all the speakers to be on the point, only on the bill.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we can discuss more.
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
on the bill.
So, bill should be presented in a such way that it prevent the Ayurveda, Ayurvedic doctrines and the क्या कहेंगे उसको, जो आयुर्वेद का स्वरूप है वो अपने रूप में रहे, चाहे वो ग्लोबल हो या मतलब जिस रूप में भी। तो बिल में भी इस बात का जरूर ध्यान रहे, क्योंकि बहुत लंबा समय हम लोगों ने स्पेंड कर दिया। और मैं समझता हूँ कि जिस फेज में अब हम लोग हैं, तो शुरुआत आज से 50 साल पहले हम लोगों ने किया था। मेडिसिन के फील्ड में जो मेडिसिन की क्वालिटी आज से 50 साल पहले हमें थी, हम यूज करते थे, इतना सब कुछ ड्रैगन कॉस्मेटिक एक्ट और ये सारे नियम कायदे जितने भी बनते गए और लोगों ने इसको एक व्यवहार का लेवल है, दूसरा जो सरकारी अपना इम्पोज करने वाली बात है, और उसमें जो एक ईमानदारी का अभाव अल्टीमेटली, कि जहाँ जो कुछ भी कुछ हो रहा है तो लगता है कि हम पूरे ईमानदारी के साथ उन चीज़ों को नहीं कर रहे हैं। और उसका परिणाम ये है कि अल्टीमेटली भाई आयुर्वेद तो लोगों के कल्याण के लिए है, तो कल्याण के लेवल पर जहाँ पर ट्रीटमेंट की बात आती है तो हम कितना अपने मेडिसिन को सक्सेसफुल पाते हैं, कितना इफेक्टिव पाते हैं। तो इस क्षेत्र में निश्चित रूप से जो मेरा अपना अनुभव है, जो आज से 50 साल पहले हमारी क्वालिटी थी वो आज क्वालिटी नहीं है। आयुर्वेद की दवाएं टैबलेट के फॉर्म में, कैप्सूल के फॉर्म में और दूसरे नए फॉर्मों में सब आ गई हैं, और लेकिन जो इसका लाभ हम उस समय ले रहे थे, आज वही दवा है, सब कुछ है, और हमें वो चीज नहीं मिल रहा है। तो जो कुछ भी हो, बिल ड्रग एंड कॉस्मेटिक एक्ट्स में जो कुछ भी नए अमेंडमेंट हो रहे हैं वो हो, लेकिन अल्टीमेटली वह जन कल्याण के लिए आयुर्वेद है, उसमें कितना ये इफेक्टिव हो, इस बात को जरूर अपने ध्यान में रख करके इन बातों को, बिल को भी आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए, करना चाहिए।
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your kind guidance. Now I would like to request Dr. Santosh Joshi ji from Hamdard, I hope. Dr. Santosh Joshi ji, welcome. Dr. Santosh Joshi ji, am I audible to you? Dr. Santosh Joshi, I hope you are from Hamdard, sir. Otherwise, in other view, we will invite any suggestion from any expert which has not been repeated. Please. This is the right time to opine.
पवन जी हमारी तरफ से एक ही ये है जी कि we are only Ayurveda people here. What happened to Siddha? What happened to the homeopathy? What happened to our colleagues from Tibetan medicine?
This bill is not for homeopathy, sir.
But it appears there. जी. अंदर है शायद उनकी.
This bill is not for homeopathy. ASU drugs clearly mentioned. No homeopathy.
होम्योपैथी भी है, होम्योपैथी भी है.
कौस्तुभ जी,
Good evening, sir. I am from Unani, Mohammed Khalid.
हाँ जी, please. आपका नाम, शुभ नाम जी.
Welcome Khalid ji. Welcome Khalid ji from Naturoveda. नहीं, Mohammed Khalid ji from Delhi. Yes, drug control.
Yes, I am
welcome,
from,
sir.
Yeah, Unani.
Yes, welcome. Please guide.
नमस्कार जी.
खालिद साहब, आपकी आवाज बंद है. खालिद साहब, are we audible to you?
I think he's only saying that he is representing Unani. That's the only thing he's saying. I don't think he is to share.
We would like to welcome his comment. He is drug controller, Unani in Delhi.
Right.
Right, sir. So his comments will be valuable for this. I hope. Dr. Khalid ji.
I am not representing government or I am not representing here as Department of AYUSH, but I am here just as a learner and a student of Unani. I was listening all the big bearers of AYUSH and I learned a lot. We are also preparing some comments and suggestions from Government of Delhi, Directorate of AYUSH, which will be sent to Ministry of AYUSH on relevant forum on Monday, sure. We are preparing our inputs in the context of Ayurveda, Unani and homeopathy. Although I have learned a lot and we will insert some inputs on Monday, what I have learned today in this very important and useful webinar. Very congratulations and thanks from Unani and AYUSH in general to organizers for taking this topic, and especially thanks C.K. Katiyar sir, which I learned that he has suggested to take this topic only. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Please do join every day. Now I would like to request Anil Johri, sir, because he was telling something. I interrupted. I am sorry, sir, on that time. But please, your guidance is every time valuable for us.
No,
Dr.
thank you.
Anil
This was only the same comment which I have already made. This is probably a discussion going on. We can discuss offline also. So my comment remains that imports are governed by the same regulation which applies to domestic industry. There is no need for a separate chapter unless you give alternative routes for accepting imports. And they should apply equally to Sri Lanka or Thailand, wherever the plant is. Second, I am concerned that there is no regulation of other traditional medicines from other countries coming into India, as has been said. So I would personally like to see that this is covered in the new bill somewhere, that traditional medicines coming from other countries are also regulated. Like our medicines, traditional medicines are regulated elsewhere. Why not the other way around? Third, about export. Okay, I have a slight view that exports are not usually regulated, but if there is justification for having a window, fine. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Your
Thank you, sir.
guidance is always valuable for us.
Pavanji, Dr. Santosh Joshi is on his screen from Hamdard. You may invite.
Welcome, welcome, sir. Welcome.
Very good
Santosh
evening.
Joshi
Very
ji,
good
welcome.
evening. You were calling me. I was just in bathroom. That's why I could not attend the call. I was just listening the deliberations. Just I want to express that I am very much agreed with Sastry ji that he has expressed that for export there must be a separate chapter, because now we are also talking about Ayurveda Ahara. So most of the formulations we are exporting to different countries and regulated market as dietary supplement. So I think there must be a different chapter should be there in new Drug and Cosmetic Act, where this Ayurveda Ahara and dietary supplement must be clarified, so that there should not be any confusion between these two different verticals. As in coming future, we are trying to boost our export, and this Drug and Cosmetic Act must have clear provisions so that there should not be any confusion.
Swapnil, thank you. Santosh ji, thank you so much. Swapnil ji,
Thank you.
namaskar.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. Is it audible?
Haan ji, we can hear you. Namaskar ji.
Yes, sir. Namaste, sir ji. Namaste. Sir, actually the Drug and Cosmetic Act doesn't only regulate the manufacturing process, but also it gives the right to the practitioner to prescribe the drug. The thing is, already Ayush Ministry has given the right of surgery to our graduates. But the thing was, there are lots of drugs are missing. Like we don't have the good anesthetic, we don't have the good Vedna Shaman drug. And for that purpose, the innovative drugs, in innovative drugs, actually it is said that excluding isolated molecule. But the suggestion should be including isolated molecule and their derivatives, so that it will help us to give the good drugs to these practitioners. As I am practicing also, in day-to-day practice, I am lacking the potent drugs which will be used in emergencies. And as an Ayurveda drug industry, it's our basic responsibility to give such drugs to our practitioners.
Thank you. Swapnil ji, thank you for your comment. We'll come back to this one. I can see Baswati ji is here. Baswati ji, namaskar.
Namaskar to you. Thank you, Madan, for
thank you for joining us today from New York. Namaskar
yes,
ji.
thank you. Thank you for encouraging me to make some comments, Madan ji. So I've written a couple of things in the chat, and I've been doing some research while we've been talking. The US Food, Drug and Cosmetics Act was started in 1938. And if you look at some of the language, it overlaps. So one of the things that I have mentioned is that we need to be careful when this copy-paste thing that happened in India in 1940, the Drug and Cosmetics, the DCA that we are looking at now that's being revised, we need to be aware that it was made for this British imperialist attitude toward allopathic drugs. And I think everyone knows that. In here, the idea of disease is the allopathic disease. And I've made a comment in the chat about this, and I haven't heard anyone in the last hour or so discussing the fact that if we see diseases based on Shrotamsi and Vata Pitta Kapha, then we are forced to describe it in an allopathic way, and then the drugs, quote unquote drugs, dravyas, are put into those ways. We just had a seminar in the Canadian Ayurvedic Practitioners Association series called TAM, Traditional Ayurvedic Medicines, discussing Dashmula Rishtam. And when I was describing it to my Western colleagues, saying that it's used for gynecologic diseases, neurologic diseases, digestive diseases, for an Ayurvedic practitioner, it makes sense that that medicine, that drug, is for Vata Vyadhi, but it doesn't make sense if you put it in terms of Western diagnoses. So is there a way we can include something in the commentary that says that the evaluation of drugs by these authorities is going to be discriminated because they don't understand our system? Someone else spoke about this to some level. And we had actually analyzed, so many know that I went to BHU, and Professor C.B. Jha, Professor K.R.C. Reddy, and Anand Chaudhary, they were very detailed in their understanding of the DCA and taught us section by section what was going on at that time and the different criticisms and what kinds of changes need to be made. And I hope that their inputs will specifically be taken one-on-one. Maybe Pavanji or Madanji can call Dr. Jha and make sure, because they really understand where the gaps are, as do many people on this forum. But I will say, as a USA person that is working with NIH and various groups that look at drugs, they are completely clueless about how other systems of medicine classify drugs. And if we revise this in 2022-23 and include this word drug and medicine as though it is the pharmacologic definition of drug, we are going to be in big trouble. I think people have kind of alluded to this, but I do want to make sure that someone has the competency to put articulate language in our comments to the ministry or whoever else wants the comments, so that this point is not sidelined just into the section 5. Okay, that's just the AYUSH thing. It should be.
Could we come back to this point, because I want to get a comment from Anil Johri ji, who says he wants to leave now. Anil ji, please, before you leave, please share this. We'll come back to you.
It's too late. It's too late now.
Pavanji, I don't know how we are for time.
Everybody,
We are still about
Ranjit ji is with us, Sastry ji is with us, Ranjit ji with us. So we would not like to extend the question answer session. For concluding remarks, I would like to request Professor V.K. Agnihotri sir, with vote of thanks to all senior experts. Professor V.K. Agnihotri sir.
Namaskar. Thank you, Dr. Pawan Sharma ji. It's a great occasion today. Rather, it's a long-awaited day that we are discussing on our pathy in its so many ways and means. Galaxy of Ayurvedic experts, manufacturers experts, and having their distinguished comment is became the ornaments of today's webinars, deliberations. Of course, I am least known to this field, so the smallest comment in one sentence of mine is basic structure and interest of Ayurveda lovers to be protected in the draft as Indian system of medicine. The smallest sentence, the fullest umbrella. If you go through each and every word, it may be dosha, it may be everything, it should be protected. Otherwise, whatever is already running, it is best, because it has cost 75 years after the independence, and we are earning our bread, our manufacturers are earning their bread. If any constructive change is supposed to be brought into practice or in force, it should be literally discussed properly with such guys which are here. So the time which has been given could be extended, say, by 1 month, so that the most of the ideas could come, and then after the inculcation of all the thoughts, the things may be taken out in a better way. This is what my concept is. So apart from that, as well as the matter is concluding remarks are concerned, I am really grateful to all our audience that they touched today more than half century. It was 53 right from the beginning of since 7:30 p.m. and it's already crossed, say, 22.10. So already 11 have completed. So our shortest approach is to Professor Madan Thangvelu sir, Professor B.P. Sharma sir, Vaidya Kaustuh Upadhyay ji, Mr. Rajendra Vahe ji, Dr. Doma Jagdishwar ji, Dr. Nandikishore ji, Dr. Rohit Singh ji,
Speaker sir. All speakers.
Also, especially the speakers are our Yeah. No, we are thankful to our speakers for their really contribution, right from Dr. Surendra Chaudhary, Dr. Naveen Kumar Gupta ji, Dr. D. Ramanathan ji from Thrissur, Dr. Himanshu Shekhar ji Tiwari ji from New Delhi, or Dr. our very well-wished friend Dr. C.K. Katiyar ji from Kolkata, Dr. J.L.N. Shastry ji from Kakinada, Dr. Ashok Kr, he could not, I think, today join, and Dr. Rajendra Khatavkar, Shri Ranjit Puranik ji, Dr. Niranjana Murthy ji. Our speakers made today's this webinar very vital, because they are all coming with their own thought. This is my pleasure, and nobody was repeating that thought given by any other person. So this is what it enforced. It enforced so in many ways, and the approach of Dr. Pawan Sharma, and of course initiated by Dr. C.K. Katiyar sir, is the same, that let us have the thoughts in a say kharal, and then we go for mardhanam gulmardhanam, and kya hai gulantaradhanam, after the gulantaradhan things should come in a very polished manner, and I do hope that it should be accepted by all in India and abroad India. So our thanks to our floor guests and our guest speakers for their great cerebral and brain contribution. The contribution which has been inculcated by their mind overnight, say 2 or 3 days, when it was declared that we are going to organize on 20th August. So all came with their very vital thought. Let us have a mental exercise in coming 24 hours or so that if, as per the dream of Dr. Pawan Sharma, if the draft or say representation will be there by our IRES, then I think it will carry some meaning. And if the extension of the time is given or allotted by Government of India, we will be in better position. What I think of that. So thank you all. Thanks a lot, and we do hope that your all such vital continuation and contribution will remain with us, with our platform, with our society. So thanks to all my dignitaries, and my great pleasure that you please remained with us with a short-term invitation, and your time is very valuable, and this time is already gone after 11. So thank you very much. We are really, by heart, we are thankful to you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Over to
will you allow me for 1 minute? 1 minute.
Over to Pawan Sharma ji.
For 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yeah, Dr. Pawan Sharma ji. Dr. Pawan Sharma ji.
Please, one or 2 points only.
Yeah.
1 minute only. For 1 minute, 1 minute,
Right,
1
sir.
point only.
Welcome,
1 point
sir.
only. Why don't you get out of this drug crushing or grinding act in general? And why don't you get your heritage be uplifted and maintained on the earth of Bharat? We let them get out ourselves and have another act of Ayurveda and Bharat land. Why do you get crushed and grinded in drug act in general? Let us now we have a chance, and the central government is also very congenial to our opinion, and let the Ayurvedic be separated from drug act. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. So today, thank you to all speakers, JLN Sastry ji, Ranjit, Puranik ji, Swagatam. Thank you very much. मैं आह्वान करता हूं इस प्लेटफॉर्म से कि कटियार जी एडमा में भी हैं, आईएसटीएम में भी, मैं भी आईएसटीएम का लाइफ मेंबर हूं, पौराणिक जी वर्ल्ड आयुर्वेद कांग्रेस के कर्ता धर्ता हैं, ये सब एक साथ हम लोग मिल जाए, आप लोगों की लीडरशिप में हम काम करने के लिए तैयार हैं। आप बताइए हमें क्या करना है। इंडिपेंडेंट रिसर्च एथिक्स सोसाइटी इज विथ यू। मैं आह्वान करता हूं एडमा का, मैं आह्वान करता हूं आईएसटीएम का, मैं आह्वान करता हूं कर्नाटक ड्रग मैन्युफैक्चरर एसोसिएशन का कि हम लोग सब साथ चलें और साथ में आप लोगों के जो भी पॉइंट्स हैं, वी वुड लाइक टू कंडक्ट डिबेट एंड डिस्कशंस ऑन दैट in form of international webinar. Thank you very much, sir, to all, right from Anil Johri ji, Puranik ji, Sastry ji, Katiyar ji. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir. Good night, everybody. Shubhratri, good night to all. Ramanathanji, namaskaram. Thank you very much. Namaste.
निरंजन जी सर नमस्कार जी, आप सामने ही हैं जी, नमस्कार।
Thank you. Shubhratri.
शुभ रात्रि सर।